Let's do it. Come on in. Come on in now. So, Auntie Leah can do a thing. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Salute, salute, salute. Welcome back to Kicking It with Auntie Leah and the Truth Gang. I'm so glad that you guys decided to stop by again this evening. Right now, we're just waiting on some more people to come in, so I'm going to ask that you hit the like button and share the live. Hey, Patricia, thank you so much for being here, baby. Please hit the like button.
Another young
Just waiting on other people
another
to come
family
in.
change. We march for the truth, but the pain remains. Different faces, same story, just a different name. We grew up here and freedom reigns, but freedom feels different when you're fighting for everything. Working 2 jobs, still can't pay the bills, while the wealthy get richer from the top of the hill.
Salute everybody, welcome. Hit the like button and share the live.
What do we see? More division, more hatred, less unity. They tell us be patient, wait our turn. But how many generations gotta live and learn? Oh, we've been knocked down, pushed aside, told to be silent.
Hey, always,
people
gang. We're gonna get started here shortly. Just waiting on the family to come in. Everybody hit the like button and share the live. Hey,
my people, hold your head up high. Don't let this world convince you not to try. Struggle through the pain.
Always.
We'll keep standing in the pouring rain. Hey, they can build walls, they can close doors, but they can't stop what we're fighting
Y'all,
for.
we're gonna have some trolls in here. It's gonna be all good.
We are the light.
We know that we are
Together
the
we'll keep
people,
up this fight.
and they just mad about it. Hey.
Children growing up without a chance, caught in a system that won't advance. Schools underfunded, dreams put on hold, while promises fade and stories grow old. Mothers praying every night that the babies make it home all right. Fathers working till their hands are worn, trying to get their families a better morn. Still we rise when they expect
enough time. Enough time.
Still we answer when our people call. Still we love when they give us hate.
They can find us by
Still we believe it's not too late. They tell us history's in the past, but the scars of yesterday still last. Red lines drawn through neighborhoods, broken promises dressed up as good. We watch dreams get pushed aside, watch too many mothers cry, watch too many candles burn, while the world keeps taking turns. Did our ancestors pave the way through darker nights and harder days? They carry faith when hope was thin, and that's the reason we're still here. So teach the children who they are, not what the doubters say they are. Kings and queens with purpose inside, born with dignity, born with pride. I see the tears,
pain and the tears.
I see the battles fought for years. Oh, I see the names we can't.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for returning to Kicking It with Auntie Leah and the Truth Gang. We really appreciate you guys. We got some crazy stuff that came out today, right? What about that phone call? Did you guys hear that phone call that came out when the person or the boy called for help, and TMZ is trying to label it as a frantic call? Yeah. No, it wasn't. I want to go over this call with you guys because what we hear, in my opinion, is not frantic. What we hear, in my opinion, is a cover-up. Now, before we get into tonight's live, let's do roll call. Okay, so we got a lot of people in the bushes. We welcome you in the bushes. Okay, you don't have to, engage in the chat, but we want you to engage in the chat. And later during the live, I'm going to have an open panel. I'm going to drop the link, and because I want to hear from you guys. I want to get to know you guys. I want you guys to come on the panel. You do not have to come up, but I want you guys to come on the panel, and I want you guys to tell me what you're feeling about what is going on in the world today. Okay, so we have Patricia Louise in the building. She says she is new. She is on Kick. Thank you so much for being here, Patricia. We got Yoko Moko. Thank you for my mod in the house. We have Demaria always. Oh, faithful Demaria's in the building. Fox 193 has a question that I think that he's trying to be funny, but welcome anyway. You'll get kicked out if you continue with your disrespect, though. So we have Reinforced. Thank you so much for being here. We got Kat in the building. Archangel Michael's in the building. Thank you so much for all of my moderators are in the house tonight. I appreciate each and every one. Thank you. So, how we're going to start this off is we're going to look at that, listen to that 911 call. Let me find the 911 call real quick so we can pull it. I don't know if it's 911, but they called for help. Okay? Call for help. Put it that way. We're going to start out by listening to that, and then we're going to talk about it, and we got some other videos that we want to bring up as well, and listen to those as well. So just hold on a second. I am looking. TMZ posted it. Just give me a moment. All right, here it is. So let's pull it up so you guys can hear and see this craziness, this madness that they want us to believe, talking about a frantic phone call. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Not at all. Let me turn the music down and put it up on the screen and get the comments out the way so that you guys can see it. It's crazy work. So this is the emergency call that one of the friends that were on the boat that was taken on water called in. Yeah.
Detail assistant, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles?
What'd
Hello?
you say? Hey.
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
All right. Well, let's get you going. Membership number or phone number listed on the account, sir?
I don't know the phone number. It's either Jerry Atkerson. I think it's Jerry Atkerson. Try that.
All right.
I know we have a membership, like guaranteed. I don't
All
have
right.
to tag
Unless
on
you have a
It got ripped
membership
off.
number or anything, it's okay. I'll get you over to the captain. What's the best phone number to reach you at?
Reach me at 2.
All right. And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's
How
on
many?
board.
All right. Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
What?
Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
No, we do not need that.
All right. All right. Do you have your current GPS coordinates?
Let me go look.
If not, I can send you a text message.
North. All right, are you ready?
Yes, sir. I'm available.
North 30 degrees. By 4672.
All right. 4672. All right. And you were breaking up a little bit. Can you just repeat it one more time to make sure I have it correct?
Sorry, look.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what?
So you're breaking up. If you need assistance, do you have a VHF radio?
No, we do not have the VHF radio.
All right. Well, let's try to get you going because you don't have good cell phone reception. Can you verify your coordinates one more time?
Okay, my coordinates are 30 degrees by 14.684 north, and then west by 88 degrees by 46.79.
Right. Looks like you're on Horn Island, correct? Are you
Yes,
on
we are
Horn
at Horn
Island?
Island. Yes.
All right. Is the boat sinking or you have it aground?
We were sinking, yes.
Detail assistant, Vicky speaking. How
Okay,
can I?
okay. So let's talk about what we just heard, and I'm gonna play it again. But does that sound like a frantic phone call, or does that sound like that he was made to do the call, and she was getting on his nerves because he didn't really want to answer her questions? And what struck me as odd as well is that he refused help from the Coast Guard, but he said that they were sinking. Does that make sense to any of you? Let's break the phone call down little by little because yeah, we hear some people in the background, but his voice, his presence when speaking to the operator was not any urgency. It was more like irritation. It was more like they pulled straws out of a bottle and he got the short end of the straw and was made to make this phony ass call. That's exactly what it sounds like to me. What do you all think? What do you all think? I really want to understand what type of frantic was in this call. I heard nothing. I heard a lot of frustration. He couldn't answer the questions. He refused help from the Coast Guard. Yes, we're sinking, but he didn't want to tell her, the water level of what was in the boat. Let's listen to this one more time because it doesn't make sense to me at all. One more time.
Detail assistant, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles?
Did you hear that guy in the background say, "Shut up! Shut the F up"? Does that make sense to you? That's not people panicking in the background, in my opinion. He's saying, "Shut up, shut the F up." So the operator probably can't hear what they really was doing, in my opinion. Let's keep going.
What'd
Hello?
you say? Hey.
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
He said, "It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. We're going down now, but we're going down. I don't know." He couldn't tell her if it was coming up to his ankles. Let's hear that one more time.
How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
All right, well, let's get you going. Membership number or phone number listed on the account, sir?
I don't know the phone number. It's either Jerry Atkerson. I think it's Jerry Atkerson. Try that.
All right.
I know we have a membership, like, guaranteed. I don't have the tag
Unless
on
you
here.
have a
It got ripped
membership
off.
number or anything, it's okay. I'll get you over to the captain. What's the best phone number to reach you at?
Reach me at
So this is Cito.
All right. And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's
How
on
many?
board.
All right. Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
What?
Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
No, we do not need that.
Okay, so in my opinion, if they really were in danger, why did he refuse help from the Coast Guard? What do you all think? Let's take some comments. So John says immigration started when the Irish, let me go up because I don't know what he's talking about. Well, I guess the other comments are the moderators, but he says immigration started with the Irish, then Italians, Chinese, Mexican, now it's Islam. Kat says TMZ breaking news with this information before law enforcement, a surprise to literally no one. I agree. Yo Mocha says right. Kat says whoever sent this to TMZ better be subpoenaed, in my opinion. I agree. Thank you so much. All right, let's keep going.
All right. Do you have your current GPS coordinates?
Let me go look.
If not, I can send you a text message.
North. All right, are you ready?
Yes, sir. I'm available.
North 30 degrees by 46.72.
All right, 4672. All right, and you were breaking up a little bit. Can you just repeat it one more time to make sure I have it correct?
Sorry, look.
Hello, can you hear me?
He's not even paying attention to the operator.
So you're breaking up. If you need assistance, do you have a VHF radio?
Yeah, we do not have a VHF radio.
All right, well, let's try to get you going because you don't have good cell phone reception. Can you verify your coordinates one more time?
Okay, my coordinates are 30 degrees by 14.684 north, and then west by 88 degrees by 46.79.
Right, looks like you're on Horn Island, correct? Are you
yes,
on
we are
Horn
at Horn
Island?
Island. Yes.
All right, is the boat sinking or you have it aground?
We were sinking, yes.
Cito, assist.
Okay, so I absolutely heard no type of urgency or anything in that phone call whatsoever. And what's interesting, there's another person that we're getting ready to watch that video as well that said that he actually called his grandfather first. He called the grandfather prior to calling for help. So if you are really truly sinking, which I don't believe he was, honestly, why would you call your grandfather first? Make that make sense. So let's put that up on the screen.
So you mean to tell me if I'm drowning on Horn Island, the first person I'm going to call is my granddaddy? The first person I'm going to call is those lifeguards to save me and my friends. I don't need to be talking to my granddaddy. So the first person that was called was Jerry Ackerson. He was the owner of the 22-foot Triton boat. Now, when the call was made to Cito called the captain, and the captain said, I just got off the phone with Jerry. Now, if these people were really drowning with all the commotion in the background, and I heard them yell out the name Warren, the young man that called was so intoxicated, I don't even believe these teenagers know what the act that they did. They don't even know what happened because they were so intoxicated. When the lady asked, would you like the guards? They was like, no. If I'm drowning, I want the guards.
Isn't that the truth? He did not want the Coast Guards to arrive. Why? Because maybe there was blood on the boat, allegedly. Maybe there was evidence of some type of altercation on the boat, allegedly. Is that how the bilge pump broke? Because you guys know, if you follow me on Facebook, that I have always questioned what happened to the bilge pump. I wrote a whole synopsis up about it because I wanted to research, could an altercation on the boat cause the bilge pump to break? And yes, research proves that it can. So why did they refuse the Coast Guard? It just don't make sense to me. Let's keep going.
I'm not calling my granddaddy to cover up anything. I want the guards to come out here and save me because you said you were in 17 feet of water. Then you switched it to 31 feet of water. I'm connecting the dots and they ain't connected.
Not connecting.
So I suggest that they pick these young men up and interrogate them, and the parents too at this point. Justice for Nolan Wells.
Amen, guys. It's diabolical what they're doing. They're playing in our face on a daily basis. Little bits of information is being released randomly. But you got the DA coming on here looking like a straight robot. And let's watch that again. Because I want to watch that again. Because I think it's crazy how she had no emotion in her tone. Her lips are glitching. Most definitely looks like AI to me. So let me find that video real quick, and I apologize for the delay, but let's find that real quick, because I think that we need to look at that one more time. I want you to pay attention to her body language. And then we absolutely do need to go back, and we need to really dissect Warren's interview, because I'm going to tell you why. Really, it's because he said it was a pool party that night. He confessed it was a pool party that night. So I cannot, and I've never really was able to basically unvalidate that photo that's out there of allegedly Nolan being in the pool party. You guys remember that? Well, Warren mentioned that pool party. So let's watch the DA real quick again. And then I want to show you another video that I found on Twitter. And this is for every single body who thinks that Nolan could not have been unalived on that island.
As District Attorney for the 19th Circuit Court District of Mississippi, I want to talk directly to the people of Jackson County. Our community is grieving the tremendous loss of Nolan Wells, who is loved and treasured by everyone. Nolan's family deserves answers, and our community deserves answers. Every death in the county, except those of natural causes and non-criminal car wrecks, are presented to your grand jury. Many people don't know that. We have handled death investigations in this manner my entire career. Nolan's case is being handled the same way, with the same care and the same commitment to the truth that we handle all death investigations. I understand the public's urgency to know what happened to Nolan, but we are not taking time for time's sake. We are taking the time required to complete the work this investigation demands. Since Nolan was reported missing, local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies have worked around the clock investigating what happened to him. Every piece of evidence.
Okay, so we heard what she just said, right? Okay, first of all, shout out to the ones who have sent me gifts. I really appreciate you. Guys, our channel is able to receive super chats, super stickers, gifts. We also have Cash App and PayPal if you would like to bless the channel. It is not required, but we really do appreciate everyone who feels like they want to bless the channel. Okay, so she is saying all of this, and she gave us an update, but they haven't answered the simple question of the cause of death. They know if water was in his lungs or not. They knew that the day they completed the autopsy, right? They knew and know if he drowned. So why not come out and tell the public if the boy drowned or not? Why are you waiting to release autopsy and evidence? If it was a simple drowning, how much evidence do you need to prove a simple drowning? And why are you withholding body parts from being inspected? So let's keep going. Doesn't make sense to me.
Must be examined. Every credible lead must be followed to its conclusion. Every witness interview must be analyzed in context of all other evidence. The pressure for answers does not change what the work requires. Our responsibility to Nolan and our community is to complete this investigation thoroughly, carefully, without compromise, supported by the evidence and worthy of the confidence of the people we serve. I also understand that many people have questions about
Let me bring your attention to this comment right here. This comment is the comment because it is absolutely customary to keep samples, but not entire structures. Let me give you an example. Kendrick Johnson, Dr. Kraft kept a sample of his liver. Even though she destroyed the rest of the organs, it's not really a great example because they destroyed his organs too. But anyway, that's another story. But she kept samples of the organ. This medical examiner in Mississippi kept the whole entire neck. And that right there is not normal. What are you hiding and why are you hiding it? Let's keep going.
Why more information has not been released publicly. In Mississippi, the rules of professional conduct restrict the information a prosecutor can release during an investigation. Our restraint in communicating facts and evidence is not an effort to keep the truth from the public. It is an effort to protect the integrity of this investigation and the grand jury proceeding. As your district attorney, I have an ethical obligation to avoid public statements that could influence witnesses, prejudice a proceeding, or compromise the fairness of the legal process. My obligation extends to and requires me to use reasonable care to ensure investigating agencies avoid making those statements and releasing information as well. These rules exist to protect the search for the truth, not to prevent it. As divided as the discussion surrounding Nolan's death has become, I know we all want the same thing, to understand what happened to Nolan. With that being our shared goal, we must also share in the goal of protecting the integrity of how the truth is discovered. If we sacrifice the integrity of the process in effort to satisfy today's questions, we risk undermining the confidence in tomorrow's answers. When the public asks, what about this, or have they looked at that, or did they think about this? The answer is yes. Those are the same questions investigators ask. The difference is that we can't publicly discuss the evidence, the interviews, or what those efforts have uncovered while the investigation is underway. Again, our restraint in sharing details of the investigation is not a refusal to share the truth.
Guys, while we have a lot of trolls in the comments, thank you so much for not paying attention, but she seems like AI to me. Number two, again, my question is, if this was a simple drowning, what is taking so long? What is all this evidence they are collecting? And why does it have to go before a grand jury? Those are my questions. And why are you not telling the public, ma'am, of the cause of death? Not manner. We know the manner takes time, because you need toxicology reports to tell the public the manner of death. Was it an accident? Was it homicide? Was it suicide? But you don't need that to tell us the cause of death. Did he drown or not? Let's keep going. That's all I want to know. I already know the answer.
It is our commitment to protect the process that allows the truth to be known with confidence. There's a lot of information out there, and there is a heck of a lot of misinformation out there. I simply want the community I serve to know that this investigation is being handled with the care, professionalism, and commitment to the truth that every family in Jackson County deserves. As we continue this important work, Nolan's family, his friends, and all who loved him remain in our prayers.
Okay, if you're new to my channel, I have a speech impediment. Sometimes I cannot pronounce the word the first time around. I most definitely do know how to say toxicology, okay? So I don't need you to tell me that. And I'm not wrong. You do not need a tox report to tell us the cause of death. Period. And the gaslight in the comments, we're just going to skip right up. But what do you all think? What do you all think? Let's talk about it. Let's get into some comments. And I'm going to skip over. I believe she's AI. I believe she's AI for real. I do. Okay, so right, Rain, where's the autopsy? That's all we want to know. We do not care about you getting on camera for 3 to 4 minutes gaslighting us anymore. Tell us, where is the autopsy? Okay. Chris says not even 2 hours after they found Nolan, and the sheriff said Nolan drowned and foul play was ruled out. Does that sound like no, it's not best practice. And that's why I'm asking this question. And if they would have found that at an autopsy prior to the tox report, we have seen it millions of times where they come out with a preliminary cause of death. That's because it's evident how the victim died. Drowning, gunshot wound, stabbing, okay? You don't need a tox report to tell us. You do to tell us manner. And if you don't know the difference, that's not my problem. Go chat GPT it or Google it. It is 2 different things that is shown on autopsy, and it is cause of death and manner of death, and that's just that. Excellent comment. It's called toxicology report. Okay, get off my y'all. Time worm out. All right. I don't know what FOS means. Whatever. And Charmaine says they kept everything that could prove or disprove a drowning, even the stomach. I agree. No, you do not. Okay, so can somebody educate Worm who thinks that you got to have a toxicology report to tell somebody the cause of death? Let me tell you something. Cause is what caused the body to die. If a person is pow, the cause of death is pow. Manner is different. I'm not going to address you anymore, Worm. I cannot help that you're not educated on these things. Let's keep going. It's crazy work. How ignorant some of them are, but are in our comments acting like that we are the ignorant ones. Not today. But I found it interesting that she came out with this statement. I really, really do. And it was right after the autopsy, the independent autopsy results were released. Speaking of that, let's go ahead. I got another clip. It's a TMV clip, and it's like their podcast. It's when attorney Ben Crump appeared right after he released the independent autopsy results. So I wanted to go ahead and watch that, and then we'll get into, I want to show you something, because people think, oh, is he drowned? He drowned. No. Diabolical things absolutely happen on the water, and I got a video, and it's disgusting. All right, let's go.
Your questions about the case, and he's calling for transparency from officials who had promised information regarding the investigation. And obviously, you know, someone that drowns in water, there could be a lot of factors on the body where it's hidden from plain sight in terms of like bruising and things like that.
Yeah,
foul play.
But I think what he's getting at and why they're making such a big deal about this, because obviously no foul play has been reported yet or anything like that. Yeah. But historically, in states like Mississippi, when somebody, you know, of color is hanging out with a bunch of white people and they miraculously die, historically, in a lot of cases down south, it's been swept under the rug to get these white people off. Mm-hmm. So we're not saying, and nobody even knows if that's the case here, but why they're so adamant about getting these details is because of instances like that in the past and historically how this has happened. And they want to make sure it doesn't happen in this case.
And there's a potential head injury that he brought up during the press conference, saying that the independent autopsy found a red discolorization on the back of Nolan's head that could indicate a possible injury. This could be a number of things. So we're not saying it's a head injury, but it could have been a pool of blood because of the way that the head was resting on something at the time.
Yeah.
Because it was a couple days till they found his body. No details on when he died or how long it had been. But
yeah, no one saw him after 4:30 on July 4th.
Right. Gosh, and there's so many people on this island. You think that someone knows something. So Ben
has to know something. If he was on a boat with his friends, I mean, we don't even know at what point he disappeared from the boat, right?
No.
So somebody had to have seen something. Obviously, his people who was with have lawyered up, apparently, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, somebody had to see something, and it could be just an instance where they were all drunk. He did fall off the boat. They were all drunk, didn't know what to do, so they just went to shore. And
but when it comes to
that's a crime in itself too. But
getting lawyers after something like this doesn't automatically make it so you can't say anything, right? Like, so what are these lawyers doing on their side is what I want to know.
Well, getting their statements and trying to figure out what the argument is. If there is any wrongdoing there, if there's not any wrongdoing, you would think by now there would be statements or something coming out saying that, but maybe they're just waiting for these findings to be done. So we spoke to Ben Crump on TMZ Live. Let's hear what he had to say.
With this autopsy, the independent autopsy that you did, you mentioned that obviously, I think the part that people are really focusing on is that you mentioned that there was this discoloration, this red coloration on the back of Nolan's head. Did the the examiner who looked at him have any inkling about what that might be?
He did find that very significant that you had this red discoloration in the back of his brain in that occipital region of the brain, of the head. Also, he found it very significant. He said that they did not send his throat with his body in the second autopsy. He said when he was the chief medical examiner of DC, this is something that's common. He said normally he would do it when they were investigating and studying whether there were fractures to the neck or some kind of, compressions to his vertebrae. So that is significant, he found. And the most significant thing he said, what is the crux of the matter that we do not know, and that is, what was the condition of Nolan Wells' body when he entered the water? Was he conscious or was he unconscious?
You mentioned that that the initial autopsy, that the lungs had been dissected, but was your examiner able to see the lungs at all, or were they also removed?
No, they were able to see the lungs. However, Charles, remember the state medical examiner for Mississippi got to observe the body when it was first recovered. And that Dr. Roger Mitchell, the independent pathologist that we hired, he would not have seen the body until 6 days later. He is going to have to rely on photographs that were taken by the Mississippi medical examiner. We would believe that they would have taken photographs and their observations, whether there was water in the lungs and water in his airways. We know that some from the United Cajun Navy said that his body didn't seem bloated.
It's just
so. The independent autopsy was conducted by Dr. Roger Mitchell, a board-certified forensic pathologist, president of the National Medical Association, former president of Howard, and former chief medical examiner for Washington, D.C. So it was a legitimate, independent investigation, obviously, and there's still undetermined causes aside from this 12/8 bruising in the back of the head. So obviously more details will come out. There's a lot of people
where do we go from
investigating it.
here is what people want to know.
I guess just getting answers from the friends. The parents also spoke at the press conference today, and Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, said that, obviously the pain of losing a child is immeasurable, and they just want answers. They want to discover what happened to Nolan on that boat in the water, how he got there, and why no one is speaking up. So,
I mean, there is a consequence to not speaking. So these kids and these friends, if they choose to keep being silent until school starts this fall, which is like a month away for them. How old are they? 18?
Yeah.
So they go to college. Like these guys
That's another thing.
are gonna.
It's like
a lot of people
my
are
life's
gonna
just starting. I can't, just because my friend died in an accident, that could be why they're trying to cover it up. And
right.
It
feels like a major cover up. Like there was some type of accident. Obviously,
that's the thing. Like people are like, oh, people are just jumping to conclusions. They're making it a race thing. It's like, it is suspicious. Why is no one talking? Why aren't there more answers that when he was on a crowded lake, Horn Island in Mississippi, and nobody saw anything? So with that being said, Al Sharpton and Tyler Perry both have offered $50,000 each for any information leading to an arrest and conviction of anything, if that was the case in this incident. So,
and who's to say that somebody hasn't already started speaking and that we don't know about it, because they're not going to jeopardize the investigation, but it could be some serious stuff if these kids had anything to do with this.
Yeah. So definitely stay tuned. It's a mystery. We hope we get an answer to quickly.
Moving on.
Okay. So what do y'all think about that? I think it was some really good truth to what they were saying. I mean, obviously, and they're not even people of color, they also agree that there's some covering up being done. I believe that with everything in me, that these children are covering up. And we've seen this time and time again. It doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter what people in denial say, right? We know that these things go on, regardless of the gaslighting and the deflecting that they do on a daily basis. These things go on. All right. So, and I want to explain and address something regarding the red redness in the back of Nolan's head. You have a lot of people suggesting, oh, it's blood pooling. Well, we all know that if blood was pooled, if that's what that is, pooled blood, then he would have had to be laying on his back, right? But it has been said by multiple sources that Nolan Wells was found face down. So that's impossible. Take that off the table. That is not blood pooling. Our question is, the first medical examiner, what is it? Because you know what it is. But I have reason to believe that that's why you kept his neck. Okay? So what I wanted to do next, let's get some comments. So Archangel says, Auntie, that poor boy fell or cracked in the head was part of it, either deliberately or bounced or off the boat. I have a feeling they were just too drunk and don't accept responsibility for that part. That is a huge possibility. Charmaine says, maybe it's a race thing with the friends or the cops or the coroner. We see it all the time. Yomoka says, I'd be happy when we find something concrete. Me too, baby. Kat says, TMB, trash media zone. You know what? Comment of the live is right there. Trash media zone. You know it. You know it. Let me show you guys this clip that we found on Twitter, y'all. It's diabolical. Why everybody is thinking that these things don't happen around water. Let me show you this. Just let me show you this real quick. This may change your mind. Let's get right into it. Can you guys see it? I gotta double check. Yes, you can see it. Pay attention to this. Pay attention, y'all. Crazy work. Mm-hmm. He's going to hit his head when he falls on that white thing. Boom. He's knocked out. Threw him in the water. You know where he hit his head is similar to where that red spot is on the back of Nolan's head. Watch this again. There was no blood. It just knocked him out. And he threw him in the water. So don't tell me this shit don't happen. Hit his head right where Nolan has that red spot. He threw him over. Y'all see that? Pretty crazy, ain't it? Let's watch it one more time. It's pretty crazy, ain't it? Y'all see that? Mm-hmm. Yep. Threw him over, and I don't know if that man died, but I got a feeling he did. The man was knocked unconscious with no blood, no obvious trauma on the outside. But see, this is what y'all do. Some shady, crazy shit like this. And I swear to God, I hope that this man is in jail. Diabolical, right? So, with that being said, don't come over here talking about he just simply drowned when his neck is missing and when he has this unidentified, unknown injury on the back of his head. And don't tell me that it couldn't happen, because we just seen it happen, right? We just seen it. Yeah. All right. Okay, so my kids have their friends calling my phone because, you know, I have that thing. But anyway, interesting, right? Let's talk about that. And guys, anybody wants to come on the panel and express how they're feeling. If you have any information or opinions that you want to offer, I pinned a link at the top of the chat. Please come up. Hey, Tasha, thank you so much for being here, baby. I love all of my mods. We see so much blue. If you want to join the green team, that is a membership, a channel membership. You will actually turn green, and the monthly fee is $2.99 a month, and you get perks and access to exclusive videos and things of that nature. Hey, baby, right, Demaria, right. So don't tell me that couldn't have happened to Nolan, right? All right, Nolan is dead. The cover-up is real, and it is very obvious, and everyone involved who is covering it up is guilty and should be brought in and arrested. I agree. Wait, who is this? I don't know. I just happened to be scrolling Twitter and found it. And I'm like, this is a good example to show the audience tonight. It's crazy work, right? It is real. I love the gaslight. Ruben says, who cares? We care. We care. And you can move out if you don't care. This is not the platform for you. Let's see. All right. So, since we are done there, I actually want to rewatch Warren's interview. And let's get deeper into what he's saying, because Warren is saying a lot of things without saying a lot of things, if that makes sense. So let's really pay attention and really hone in on what Warren is saying. Because one thing I did notice when he was telling his story in the interview, he went from a fight to the bilge pump, but he never told us what happened in between the fight and when they began to sink. Thank you so much, Kai. I appreciate you guys. I love y'all. God knows I do. But let's get right into it, guys.
All right, so I want to be clear with this one thing, because I know you mentioned before, is there any chance or any knowledge that you have that anybody deleted stuff from his phone?
Pay attention.
I mean, Nolan was like a brother to me. Nolan lit up every room he walked in. 4th of July, everybody was out there. Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. The rest of the group, which was ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line.
Yeah, so y'all pretty much having a good time. And then you guys get ready to leave prematurely.
Right.
And like, what? Explain that, because you guys got there around 10.
Yeah.
It's now 4:30.
Right.
People are still out there partying, and
Correct.
they're having a good time, but something happened to where it necessitated you guys to get the boat up and running. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So I had a girl come up to me and say, hey, your brother just got in a fight. And obviously I have a younger brother, and that's who she was talking about. And I was freaked out. So I walked over to the beach, and I didn't walk over. I ran over. I made a beeline. I didn't talk to anybody. Put my drink down and walked over there. And my brother was kind of angry, and there was a lot going on. But someone was getting pulled away. I don't know who it was. And my brother was like, "Oh, I just got in a fight, and this guy punched me in the face," and I punched him right back. And then went to the ground, and my brother put him in an arm bar. And
was Nolan involved in any of this?
Absolutely not. When I was over there, it was a bunch of younger guys like my brother's age. And I mean, Nolan, I never saw Nolan over there. Yeah. Absolutely not. And, okay, sorry. I just lost my train of thought.
So you get ready to go. There's an issue with the boat.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is.
He lost his train of lie, but I digress. Let's keep going.
Yeah, this led up to that. That's what I was saying.
So the fight happened with your brother, or a little scuffle. I'm assuming that it was cleared up.
Right.
You got your brother out of that situation, and then how did you find out that this boat is sinking?
Well, I walk back over, and like we're probably around each other for a little bit. I mean, I wasn't thinking anything of it. I pulled my brother off the beach, and I was just like, listen, get in the water, hang out with us, calm down. I mean, he was calm, but I didn't want anything else to happen, And So once I got back over the boat, I got on the Triton, and the Triton had probably about 6 inches of water up to the transom. And I was freaked out because I'm good friends with Wyatt, and that was his boat. And, you know, no water's coming out, no access water's coming out. And, you know, it was a big issue because I think the reason was because there were so many.
Okay. So, guys, do you notice how Warren skipped from the fight with his brother? And I believe that second video that we saw going around social media, where it was an angry, look like white supremacist guy in 4th of July shorts, and they're going off. He's going off on younger kids, and you see bloody noses and stuff like that. I'm wondering if that is the fight that Warren is referring to. He went from the fight to the bilge pump issue. He doesn't tell us what happened in between. How did you go from the fight, your brother getting to the fight, and then straight to the bilge pump? It's not making sense.
People getting on and off the boat, and at some point the boat was very, very crowded, and there was just a lot of people on, so that it drags water in. And eventually, I think over time, we were out there for a couple hours, the boat just started filling up with water. So I popped the starboard side hatch, and the battery was completely underwater. And so the motor wouldn't trim down. I mean, my buddy would go to trim it down from the console, and it'd trim down, and then it'd come right back up. And so Wyatt's trying to throw a rear anchor, so we're caught, and he's, you know, yelling at people.
Let me explain to you why this doesn't make sense. First of all, you went from the fight right to the bilge pump issue. You didn't tell us what happened in between. And then my other question is, if you're still at the island and the bilge pump has issues, why did you leave the island? Why did you allow someone to pull you out to attempt to make it home? Why didn't you call someone for the bilge pump to be repaired prior to your exit? Guys, make it make sense. Does any of this make sense? Let's keep going. Listen to these lies.
Everybody's kind of freaking out. And eventually I'm like yelling at other people, trying to tell them, you know, calm down. Like, you know, the boat could possibly sink, you know, and I'm not paying attention to everyone around me. I was paying attention to my buddy's boat. And that's what all my other friends that were on that boat were doing, trying to solve the problem.
So you're on the boat now, the water is getting up to the point where the boat may be disabled to where you couldn't get it out.
Correct.
From Horn Island. So what happens after that?
Wyatt jumps to the water, tries to throw a rear anchor, and my buddy Meyer, you're sitting looking, trying to pull trash out the bilge. And the bilge is basically a pump that pulls the access water out the boat. So the bilge was failing to work. So any excess water was just sitting in the boat. It wasn't getting pumped out. And I looked over the gunnel, and I looked at the release hole for the bilge, and it was even with the water. So, I mean, we're all freaking out. All of our, you know, we're not focused on anything else other than the boat. Well, then eventually my buddy Bart on the tide line is like, I'm going to pull y'all out to where we're out of all this, you know, all this chaos. Cause we left at 4:30 and there were still just as many people there, if not more than when we got there. I mean, probably around the same amount. I mean, it was crazy. Like there was a lot of people. And I mean, eventually Bart pulls us out. You know, we left at 4:30, but we really weren't pulled out away from everybody. We were probably about a quarter mile out, and we had the towing strap pulled from, you know, Bart's port side cleat or starboard side cleat, and he was on our starboard side bow. And so it was rubbing on his power pole. So Bart turned around, pulled up next to our boat, and we were just trying to get it situated. So that's when Wyatt called Cito. And Wyatt was like, you know, calls him.
We now know who it is. See, TMZ didn't tell us who the phone call was made by, but based off what Warren just said, it was Wyatt that called Cito. So Wyatt is the one that's on the phone pretending to be frantic, talking to Cito. Let's keep going.
Because the cell service isn't great at the island, but once you can use your phone, but stuff might not descend, and it's not great. You got maybe one bar, it won't work that well. But once you get a little off the island, you have cell coverage, and even on the island, like I called my mom when we were on the island.
Okay, did you guys hear that? So we have 100,000s of trolls trying to convince us that you have to swim to the island, that the cell phone didn't work. There was no reason for Nolan to have his phone because he couldn't have carried it to the land. He couldn't have carried it to the island. You had to swim, right? And there was no reason to have your phone on the island because you can't use it. Well, Wyatt just said, no, Warren, sorry about that, guys, just said that he called his mom from the island. Pay attention.
Fine. Like we had enough cell coverage to make a phone call or shoot a text over, but you don't have enough cell coverage to like send a picture, for example. So what?
So I want to go back.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I want to touch on that real quick because the phone thing came up at some point. And so was it when you guys got off the boat?
Yeah.
I mean, were people taking their phones off the boat, or is that not typical? Because I know that Nolan's phone was left on the boat,
right?
Even though after you guys had left. So can you explain that? Because I think people need to understand this a little clearer.
Yeah.
Was it typical for people to have their phones left on boats, or did they keep their phones in the water?
Yeah. I mean, everybody kind of goes out to the island to get away from, their phones and everything else. So I know I got on the boat to get away from, just the regular world. And no, when you're waist deep in water,
hey,
no one's.
Boom. Did he say waist deep in water? Because that's what I heard. Waist deep in water, which means that Nolan Wells, the 18-year-old kid that passed away, could have grabbed his phone from the boat and walked it to the island just in case he needed to call a ride if he in fact elected to stay behind, which is something that we do not believe. So carry on with your false narratives that you have to swim to the island and there was no reason for him to have his phone. Well, if this kid decided to stay behind, trust and believe this 18-year-old kid would have grabbed his phone.
Carrying their phone in their hand, especially at Horn Island. The water has been very, very murky because of the rain. And when it's just very risky. If you're gonna have your phone in the water, some people might for a couple minutes and like maybe taking some pictures of each other.
Did he say some people might have their phone in the water? Is that what he said? Yes. That's exactly what he said. An 18-year-old Nolan Wells would have had his phone in the water if he decided to stay on the island because he had no for sure way back. Now shut the hell up.
I know a lot of girls like to take pictures in the water at Horn Island. Guys do too. Like people like to take pictures, and but a lot of the pictures you see are on the boat for a reason.
May I ask where those pictures are, Warren? By your own admission, people were taking pictures in the water. Where are those pictures, Warren?
And so, no, I mean, if someone is on their phone in the water, they're using it real quick and then putting it right back on the boat. We were all waist deep in water. No one's sitting there scrolling on their phone. I never saw that once. And I've never seen that once. And I've been out the Highland my whole life. I mean, that's just not something people do. People aren't on their phones. And everybody has their phone, yes, but it's always on the boat. No one's getting off the boat with their phone. So.
And so you guys get ready to.
He just blatantly contradicted himself, right? Didn't he say, well, some people have their phones in the water to take pictures and things of that nature. And then he says no one has their phone in the water. Make it make sense, Warren.
Leave out of there, getting towed out.
Yeah.
And then where's Nolan in this situation?
Well, the last time I saw Nolan was 3:00. And Nolan was cradling a girl in his arms, Katie. Katie. And Katie, Nolan was sitting there, and the last time I saw him, I looked at Nolan, and Nolan was like shaking his head, laughing, and I was like, dude, you crazy. I was like just joking with him. And but anyway, Nolan, that was the last time I laid eyes on him. But when we were leaving, obviously, no one is getting left at the island that came with us. unless they demanded to, be there and asked, this is a very common thing at Horn Island. When you're out there, a lot of people ride out there with someone and in with somebody else all the time. I've done that 100 times. It's a very common thing, but Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. The boat's having issues. And no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking.
Okay. He said the boat was having issues prior to Nolan deciding to stay on the island. Does that make sense? That's interesting. He's saying basically before they took off that they knew that the bilge pump was broken. He is saying that he told Nolan that they were leaving because the boat was having issues. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. That doesn't make sense.
Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here. I'm going to ride in with somebody else. And it's not uncommon to hear, but it's not like my buddy asked him one time. My buddy asked Nolan multiple times to get on the boat. Nolan, get on the boat. Get on the boat. We're leaving. If you're coming, you got to come now. And Nolan made a decision to stay out on the island.
Okay,
and
so
like he said,
let me take a poll. And I'm going to stop. I promise you. But I want to take a poll. Who would elect to ride out on a boat when a bilge pump is malfunctioning? Make it make sense. Put a 1 in the chat if you would have went ahead and tried to make it home with a bilge punch problem on a boat that was already water was coming onto the boat by his own admission. Put a 2 in the chat if you would have called Cito prior to exiting the island, right? Yeah, make it make sense. Put a 1 in the chat if you'd have just headed on out on a wind in a prayer with a broken bilge pump. Or put a 2 in the chat if you'd have called Cito while you were on the island and said, hey, my bilge pump is malfunctioning. Let's keep going. Don't make sense to me. Not at all. Lies.
How many people heard that? Were there just
at least
just a
5
few, or?
I mean, everyone that was on our boat right there, because the Palm Beach had already left. My buddy went ahead and went home on the Palm Beach, and 3 guys on the way back. And Nolan wasn't the only person to ride out there with us and in with somebody else. I mean, we had multiple people in our group that rode out with us and rode in on someone else's boat. And that, like I said, that's not an uncommon thing to do. I mean, a lot of people do that. I could name probably.
Okay, so he just said it was people that rode in on the boat that elected to stay on the island as well. Is that what I just heard? Let's rewind that. Because who are those people? And where are they statements?
How many people heard that? Were there just
at least
just a
5
few, or?
I mean, everyone that was on our boat right there, because the Palm Beach had already left. My buddy went ahead and went home on the Palm Beach, and 3 guys on the way back. And Nolan wasn't the only person to ride out there with us and in with somebody else. I mean, we had multiple people in our group that rode out with us and rode in on someone else's boat.
Okay. Who was those people, Warren? What were their names, and were they interviewed, and what was their statements? You just said that there was multiple people that rode in on your boat that stayed on the island with Nolan, but we have not heard from these people. That don't make sense. Truth gang, it don't make sense.
And that, like I said, that's not an uncommon thing to do. I mean, a lot of people do that. I could name probably 50 people out there that day that ran out with somebody and ran back in with somebody else. So, I mean, it's not like it's an uncommon thing, but.
Okay. So my next question is those 50 people that you said that you can name, how would you know if you left first? How would you know if they came to the island and left with somebody else if you were already gone? Warren, you're lying. And that is why your nose is the way it is.
Not like we just left him there. Or my friends just left him there. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island after my friends asked him multiple times and told him to get on the boat, and he decided to stay.
And I heard the girl that he was with, Katie, had text somebody that she heard people yelling
correct
for Nolan to get on it. Is that true?
And I have a picture of that. She texted my buddy, and the next day everybody was panicking.
He said he has a picture of her texting. Let me rewind that. I have a picture of that. Guys, Warren, yeah.
Nolan made a decision to stay on the island after my friends asked him multiple times and told him to get on the boat, and he decided to stay.
And I heard the girl that he was with, Katie, had text somebody that she heard people yelling
correct
for Nolan to get on it. Is that true?
And I have a picture of that. She texted my buddy, and the next day everybody was panicking and everybody's texting Katie, because she was obviously seen with Nolan the whole day at the island. Katie sent a message to my buddy the next day and said, this is the last time I saw him, he's really sweet. But she also mentioned that the last time she saw Nolan was when my buddy was yelling at him to get on the boat. And she was right there to see that Nolan decided not to.
Yeah, and so you guys get in the boat, you start to get towed in, and you make it back. Now explain how did you get to the point where you were concerned about Nolan? Because obviously you said, hey, Nolan, y'all need to, or somebody, not
when
you,
did I get
but
to that point?
You guys had made mention Nolan needed to get on a boat.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Yeah.
You guys get back to wherever you're going.
Right.
Explain that. Did you guys go back to somebody's house, or you guys like what happened there? And then when did you feel like, well, wait a minute, where's Nolan?
Right. Okay. Well, running in was very chaotic. I mean, Nolan chose to stay on the island, so my focus wasn't on anything else other than the boat, because if the boat doesn't get in, then no one gets in. I don't want to sink out there on my buddy's boat, and no one does. But my buddy Wyatt jumped out and pulled the plug on the boat once we kind of got out there, because he got the motor to trim down. And the motor trimmed down, my buddy Wyatt pulled the plug, and we planed off. We moved all the weight to the front of the boat so we could plane off. And eventually we planed off, and the boat was running. So when you're planed off and you have water in the boat and you're hauling, we're going pretty fast. We're going probably 40, 42 miles an hour. And so all that excess water that was built up in the boat is coming out of the boat. So, I mean, that's what we had to do. So we ran into Fort Bayou, and we didn't just run straight to my buddy's grandparents' house. We ran into Fort Bayou. A couple of us jumped in the water, and Wyatt, the whole reason for the stop was so Wyatt could hop in and put the plug back in the boat. So then after that, we went and docked it, and I went back to my buddy's house, and we ate and, napped for a little bit. It was a long day at the island, so, we were all tired. And eventually we go over to a girlfriend of mine. She was having people over for 4th of July. We were doing fireworks and stuff. So we all went over there to swim and, hang out.
So, and you guys, you see that? You hear that? There was a pool party. There was a pool party. He's describing the party, guys. So no, I have not invalidated that photo. He is describing the pool party. Let's keep going.
This infamous picture that I've seen online of Nolan in the water in the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Where is this picture associated with? Because you said you guys went back to swim. Nolan wasn't with you.
Yeah.
So where is this picture at? What is it? What's the context around the picture that's been floating?
That picture is taken on June 27th, a week before the 4th of July. We all went to a friend of ours in Pass Christian. We have a lot of friends from Bay St. Louis, Pass Christian. We all went over there to hang out.
Do you have the metadata, Warren? Can you please show that? We need that.
And,
and Nolan was in that picture.
Nolan was in that picture. And if you look in the picture, my arm is around Nolan in that picture, And, that was a week before the 4th of July. So that picture is not associated within even the same. That was a week before. So, yeah.
So you guys are now at swimming and having a good time at a lady friend's house.
Right. I never got to the pool. I talked to her dad for a while. Okay. And all my friends were downstairs. I went upstairs, talked to her dad. We were talking about boats and stuff. And, I've been with my friends all day. I was just talking to everybody. But
So you talked to the young lady's dad, and then how long was it before you realized, or you guys realized that, well, where's Nolan at?
I mean, I went back downstairs and all my friends were just hanging out, and my buddy Wyatt had addressed, talking about Nolan, and I was like, well, where is Nolan? Have y'all heard from him? And he was like, no, we haven't. And I was like, okay, well, it's a little concerning. Like, I mean, I'm not freaking out or anything, but like, I'm trying to find out where Nolan is. So I texted Javon and I was like, hey, and also a couple other buddies that I had at the island. I was like, hey, have y'all seen Nolan? Did he ride in with y'all? And all the buddies were like, no. Well, I texted Javon and I was like, hey, can you send me Miss Christine's number? Because I haven't heard from Nolan. And if she hasn't heard from Nolan, then I'm calling the Coast Guard. And so eventually, Javon sends me her number.
Who is her? That's
Miss Christine.
Miss Christine is
Nolan's mom.
Okay.
Yeah. And I walked down to the dock because, I mean, there was a lot of people. It was not a lot, but, there was probably 15 of our friends there. And I was just like, walked down to the dock with a couple of my buddies, and I got on the phone I called Miss Christine, called her the first time. She didn't answer. I called her a second time, and I got on the phone with her, and I asked her if she had heard from Nolan. She said no. And I said, all right, well, don't freak out. I'm going to call the Coast Guard. And this was at about 11 o'clock.
So what's your intent in calling?
Okay, so what made him all of a sudden be concerned about Nolan? What made him at that very time all of a sudden be concerned about Nolan? Hours later, to where he needed to call his mom and say, have you heard from Nolan? Does that make sense? Because the only person that talks to me like that is the Holy Spirit. And from what I'm watching, he don't know who that is. So what put in his mind and heart to call Nolan's mom? Was it after they allegedly, possibly unalived Nolan to set up the play? Let's keep going, because that don't make sense. Hours, you done napped, you done ate, you done went to a pool party, and all of a sudden you think about Nolan? You should have thought about Nolan before you left the island. But let's keep going. I digress.
Calling the Coast Guard, right? Because right now, Nolan could be with a chick. He could be with somebody else.
Right.
He could have gone back with somebody else. What made you concerned enough that you felt like you couldn't weigh it out anymore? You had to call the Coast Guard.
Well, I mean, like I said, my friends and I have been on the water our whole life. Stuff happens. People die all the time. I know people that have died out there. And, it's a fun place to be, but it's also a very, very dangerous place to be if you're not handling it right. And Nolan, so I hadn't heard from him, and obviously I'm thinking I'd way rather be safe than sorry. I mean, I would rather call the Coast Guard 100 times and lose my mind over it, and my buddy be okay, than, not. And
Did you hear that shit? The lies. He said he would rather call the Coast Guard, but denied the Coast Guard coming to the boat when they were supposed to be sinking. So no, you wouldn't rather call the Coast Guard. You guys are lying. You would rather call the Coast Guard, but deny the presence of the Coast Guard when the operator at Seatow asked you, did you need the tow card? Make it make sense, Warren.
Me not know where he is and him not be okay. And so I called the Coast Guard and I talked to them on the phone for like 20 minutes, gave him a description, what Nolan was wearing, the last place we were at, the last time I saw him, who we were with, what boat we were on, the conditions of the water, just a summary. And I called Miss Christine back after, and I talked to her.
He is Pinocchio.
And I said, I got in contact with the Coast Guard. I'm not sure who she called or, what she did, but I think she said she was going to make a couple phone calls to either DMR or Jackson County Sheriff's Office. And I was thinking worst case scenario. Like, I would way rather be safe than sorry about this,
Yeah, so you called. So it seems like you called Mom immediately.
Right.
Probably the first phone call that she got from anybody.
That's the first phone call, like at least I made. And I would assume that's the first phone call she got from anybody because Javon hadn't called her. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but Javon hadn't called her. And, I mean, I was just worried about my friend. You know, stuff happens out there, boat problems, it could be anything. But, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens out there. And I was just worried about my friend.
Wait a minute.
And so,
Warren, you were worried about your friend after the fact? You should have been worried about your friend before you allegedly left your friend with no for sure way home without his phone. That's when you should have worried about Nolan. Not after the fact. Let's be real. You're not a friend.
you guys made that call, nothing that night. And I'm assuming you wake up the next day, and then what happens?
I wake up the next day at about 7:30, and my dad had texted me because obviously Nolan's photo was at.
Can I stop? I need to ask everybody that's in the chat to please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Please share the live. Please also know that our channel is able to receive gifts, super chats, and super stickers and memberships. Please, in the name of Jesus, just hit the like.
I was all over Facebook, and
I mean the like button.
You know, I just saw it everywhere, and I was freaked out because I was like, oh my gosh, like that. You know, I assumed, you know, Nolan's just, you know, we had been drinking all day, and like, you know, that he's just sleeping somewhere, and you know that he's okay. But I didn't want to believe that if we didn't know for sure. So, I mean, next day I woke up and my stepdad walked to my room and he said, hey, like, have they heard anything about Nolan? Like, what's going on? Because I hadn't spoke to him. And he was like, I was like, yeah, no, like, I don't know. I had just gotten up. And he was like, all right, well, we're going and getting on the boat and looking for him. And I was like, okay, yeah. So I got my buddy Ricky, I got my buddy Brooks, I got my buddy Jax. My mom came on the boat with my stepdad and I, and we all went out there and looked. When I got out there was dozens of DMR boats, helicopters, planes flying over Horn Island. And this wasn't just Horn Island. There was also Ship Island they were looking at, I'm sure, and Chandelier.
Did I just hear Warren try to give us an explanation on why they went back to the island? Is that what he's trying to imply? Is he trying to insert an explanation on why they returned to Horn Island on a damaged boat? Who elects to go back to an island when the bilge pump was already malfunctioning? You're going to use that same boat to go back? Come on, guys.
I mean, next day I woke up and my stepdad walked to my room and he said, hey, like, have they heard anything about Nolan? Like, what's going on? Because I hadn't spoke to him. And he was like, I was like, yeah, no, like, I don't know. I had just gotten up. And he was like, all right, well, we're going and getting on the boat and looking for him. And I was like, okay, yeah. So I got my buddy Ricky, I got my buddy Brooks, I got my buddy Jax. My mom came on the boat with my stepdad and I, and we all went out there and looked. When I got out there was dozens of DMR boats, helicopters, planes flying over Horn Island. And this wasn't just Horn Island. There was also Ship Island they were looking at, I'm sure, and Chandelier Island, Petty Boy. I mean,
and guys, you know what else? Listen, do you know what else he skipped over? Can you please explain the reason y'all went back to the island and was stuck where Nolan Wells' body was found? Warren, where? Uncle Toby Tom Tatum. Why didn't you ask that question? You are not the one that is needed to interview Warren. Paid opposition.
And it wasn't just Horn Island specifically, but where I was at Horn, there were boats everywhere, and not just like random boats, but like, you know, marine resource boats and, you know, cops and, you know, the whole nine. Like, it wasn't like there was just a couple of boats looking for Nolan. There was planes and helicopters and, you know, everybody. So,
and then after this, you know, obviously they didn't find Nolan that day.
Right.
And so what was your reaction like when you heard the news, or how did you hear the news that they found Nolan's body?
Well, the next day, well, it got to be about 1 o'clock on July 5th, and I was like, my mind started to turn. I was like, man,
No, you were eating brunch.
if he's not awake yet, like, where is he? Like, I got very, very worried. And, I was with my buddy Brooks the next day, and we're driving, and my buddies were texting my group chat. They were like, hey, listen. And then I got a phone call from my buddy Trace, and he was like, hey, man, they just found his body. And I was like, I wanted to have hope, but it was really, really hard to have hope when they haven't found your buddy in the last 2 days. And, but there's still a little bit of hope there, like maybe, he's not gone, and maybe, he's okay. But my reaction was just, I was with my buddy Brooks, and I broke down. I mean, I haven't experienced death a lot, but especially with someone I'm as close with as Nolan. And I mean, I broke down, and I sat there on my buddy Brooks' shoulder, and I cried, and I was upset. I made a couple phone calls to my buddies and checked up on my buddies, because, I care about my buddies too. I mean, like, we're all experienced this. Like, we all realized at the same time. We all heard the news at the same time. Like,
okay. Okay. So is it your buddy or your best friend? That's my question to you, Warren. At the beginning of these interviews, you call him your best friend, and now he's just your buddy. It is a huge difference between best friends and buddies.
He's gone. And so it was really, really hard on me. I mean, I've never experienced something like this, and it was traumatic. I mean, I could tell you where and when I was there, when I got that phone call, where I was. And I just remember, like, it was insane. Like, I can't even put into words how upset I was.
We seriously have 495 people in the building. Can you please hit the like button?
And how upset my friends were. So.
And then comes the stories and the backlash and the craziness. I mean, you guys are now hearing that you're responsible for it. You did it. You killed Nolan. So what was the next step? Did you guys ever engage with police or?
Yeah. So the first time I talked to the police was July 7th. I talked to the lead investigator, and I told him my whole story, top to bottom, dotted every I, crossed every T. I told him everything I knew, every little detail. I mean, everything I could, tell them to try to figure something out, Well,
you don't want to talk to the cops, or
no, of course
some
not.
Other guys?
Every person that was included, especially, the guys that you see on social media, everybody cooperated with the police fully. Nolan was with us on the way out, and he rode out on the boats with us. So, I mean, we were the first people to get questioned. I mean, we cooperated with the police the first time they called us, and, we talked to them, as soon as they needed, and we were fully cooperative.
And we see Benjamin Crump coming to town, made it about race.
Right.
What's your feeling about that? Do you think that any of this has anything to do with race, or, because, I mean, obviously something happened to Nolan. It appears that you guys may not have been involved at all. When I say may not, it's no evidence that you were involved at all. You guys had left.
Right.
But do you think that there's a racial component to any of this?
Of course not. I mean, I think if Nolan ever felt the most little bit uncomfortable around us, which we never gave him a reason to, but if he did, he wouldn't hang out around us. But if you go look on, like, my friends have had Nolan posted all over our social medias, since freshman year in high school. Like, if Nolan ever felt uncomfortable with us, why would he be hanging out with us all the time? I mean, every day we're back from college, we hang out and we're around each other all the time. So absolutely not. I would never look at Nolan any other way than I would any of my other friends. I mean, he was like a brother to me.
You guys had been interviewed by law enforcement. All of you guys have given statements. But then I think that there's a part associated with this that's being rumored out in the public, and that is the situation with the cell phone, potential deletion of messages. When did that occur, and what happened there?
All right, so guys, what do y'all think about what we just watched? I got one more video that I want to watch before we leave. But what do you all think about what we just watched? Crazy, right? In my opinion, it's crazy. All of the lies and things of that nature is crazy work. I, for one, cannot understand how he went from a fight straight to the bilge pump having issues. Let's talk about it. Let's read some comments before we get to our next clip. Thank you so much, Mary A in the building. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are so good to me. Mary A says, hit the likes. Playing it forward is free. Support Auntie Leah and the Truth Gang and justice for Nolan Wells. Shout out to Mary A. Guys, shout out to everybody who has sent gifts and super chats to this channel. We do appreciate you. Now, before we get into this next clip, I want to read a few comments. And no, you don't have to send a super chat for me to read your comments. That's not what this channel is about. I'm going to read your comments, but I really appreciate the gifts in the super chats. Mary by the pool says, the interviewer is only asked softball leading questions. He's not trying to get real answers at waste. Yeah, I agree. Ha ha ha. So many detectives in here. Yep, we are. And Angel says, so Tatum clearing them like he got all of the evidence. Really? Right? Uncle Tatum. Okay. Someone with no direct knowledge can speak calmly because there is no guilt. Really? Yeah. Whatever. I think it is good to wait for facts and evidence to come out. You know what? Let them put it out. They haven't. So since they haven't put it out, it leaves room for speculation. All right. And long neck draw. I don't know what that means. Scorpiism says he's lying. Surprised he's not locked up. Yes, I agree. Y'all so desperate to be victims, whatever. And he telling half the truth. I think they know who did something to him. I do too. Kat says, taxpayer 2025, you're reported for hate speech. Thank you. And if not, he was drowned. Body floats up from his being face down means drowned to me. Well, don't know for a fact. To me, if he had drowned, they'd have said it a long time ago. So let's get into this right here. And then we will end it for tonight and be back tomorrow. Fair use.
Nolan Wells went to enjoy July 4th on Horn Island off the coast of Mississippi with his friends. He ended up dead. And early on, the sheriff said they believed he drowned and they did not suspect foul play. This upset Nolan's family. I mean, how could they come to this conclusion without an investigation? So Nolan's family reached out for help.
Why do you say we need to be retained to lead an independent investigation? It is because the family has distrust of the Mississippi law enforcement officials.
The family is working with attorney Ben Crump and had a private autopsy performed.
He found red discoloration when he cut open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone.
Something else happened at that press conference. Ben Crump revealed a piece of information that got everyone's attention.
Nolan was found face down, fully clothed.
But now there is pushback on that claim, creating more confusion and more conflict as the investigation into the death of Nolan Wells continues. This case, this story, this investigation is getting very, very dicey. There is a divisive war of words on social media, not just from the public, but from people involved in the case. Also, what did this second autopsy reveal about the death of Nolan Wells, and what was he wearing when he was found face down in the water? I'm Vinny Politan. Let's investigate. The investigation about what happened at Horn Island is a death investigation. It's about how did he die? How did Nolan Wells die? Now, there's a couple different things here. Will we ever get a true answer? Let's say, for instance, that he drowned. Well, why did he drown, right? That's the other part of the question that you may or may not get an answer to as a result of an autopsy or anything else. some of this may rely upon witnesses coming forward and saying what they saw or what they didn't see, what they heard or what they didn't hear. So there's a lot to this that goes beyond just the autopsy, but the autopsy extremely revealing. And one of the things that was pointed out in the second autopsy of Nolan Wells by the private pathologist was this injury to the back of the head, the soft tissue, the reddening of the soft tissue in the back of the head. What was the source of this? And what was really significant is that the pathologist, the private pathologist, said this was not examined by the state pathologist. So how significant is that? We're going to talk about that. We're going to bring in our own expert in just a moment. Another question for this investigation is, why did Nolan stay on the island? Why wasn't he on the boat or one of the 3 boats that showed up that day to leave when the rest of his friends left? And that really gets to the heart of the issue. And that's where there's been a little bit of a conflict of people's accounts of what exactly Nolan's plans were. So that has to be resolved. And finally, like, what was he wearing when he was found? This is now a big issue in the case. We saw him, right? He's wearing a bathing suit in some of the images that have become public that people have tracked down from earlier that day. I think the latest that I've seen is about 2:30 in the afternoon. And we know the boat left around 4:30. So about 2 hours before one of the boats leaves, at least one of the boats leaves, he's wearing his swim trunks. Now, Ben Crump at the press conference where they're talking about the autopsy made a statement and revealed some information. And this absolutely sent shockwaves through the true crime world. Take a listen.
The fact, Christine, that the United Cajun Navy are so forthcoming. The fact that they told us, we haven't heard from any of their local officials, that Nolan was found face down, fully clothed. Well, that's significant to us because the last time we saw him on the videos, he was without a shirt. So at what point did he put on a shirt? Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. There were almost 300, 400 people. Somebody knows something.
Big moment, right? And you could hear the reaction from the people there. Like, what, he's fully clothed? Now, reaction from the United Cajun Navy. These are folks who go out and help searches. Many of the true crime cases we cover, they're out there looking for missing people. This is what they posted on X. The fact that some people misinterpreted what fully clothed means is irrelevant at this point. Nolan Wells was discovered wearing only the swim trunks he was photographed in the day he went missing. The real issue is that Attorney Crump falsely stated during his press conference that the United Cajun Navy told Nolan's family that he was found fully clothed, and then went on further to invent a story about him wearing a shirt. None of this is true. And at no time did we ever discuss what we witnessed during the recovery with his family. We understand that controversy drives likes and clicks, but people need to keep their eye on the ball. Misinformation has harmed this investigation and the community of Ocean Springs, Mississippi. We will continue to call out misinformation when we see it and correct it with facts. So where did this all come from? Well, someone from the United Cajun Navy was on with Nancy Grace. And during that show, which has been seen by more than 1 million people, it was stated he was fully clothed. So that's where the misinterpretation of what fully clothed means. It was a statement made to Nancy Grace on her show. And Nancy Grace also said it and sort of emphasized that, yeah, he was fully clothed. So that's where that all comes from. But apparently there's no discussion between the United Cajun Navy and the family, which Ben Crump seemed to indicate, unless he was saying we just learned from watching Nancy Grace's show. So it's like a game of telephone. So the bottom line, and I think this is correct, the only thing that matters now are the facts. And the facts are he was not fully clothed. Now, take a look at this. This was also posted by United Cajun Navy on X. and they want help. They want sharing this. This is one of our followers found this photo on social media of a random family picture from Horn Island on the 4th of July. We believe that may be Nolan Wells in the background. We're looking for the owner of this photo and a possible timestamp. Thanks in advance. Again, that's significant. Trying to put together a timeline is very, very helpful. And if you have a photo, you don't know exactly when it was taken, the person who took it probably could figure it out. So if they could figure out when this photo was taken, and if it is Nolan Wells, now all of a sudden you're filling in more of the timeline of where he was and when he was there. So it could be very, very revealing in trying to figure out what time this photo was taken. Because if it's taken after the boats have left and the GPS is tracking where the boats were, paints a completely different picture. You've got hundreds of people there, hundreds of potential witnesses. We need more information. So I want to talk more about this second autopsy, this private autopsy that was done on behalf of Nolan Wells' family. We're going to need a little bit of help going through this. So we're going to bring in our guest, Joseph Scott Morgan. You know him well, folks. Death investigator, does amazing work at the Applied Forensics Department over at Jacksonville State University. And, of course, the host of the extremely popular Body Bags podcast. Great to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too, Finn.
So I want to play a piece of the press conference that Ben Crump had where he was going through some of the findings of this private pathologist. And I want to get your reaction. This part specifically is about some redness that was found by the pathologist during this second autopsy that apparently wasn't found during the first. Let's take a look.
And this is significant. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time. He talked about how he found red discoloration when he cut open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone, and he saw the red discoloration, and we actually saw the pictures of it. It's significant. You can't help but notice, why is this dark red here in the back of his head? And so he was important to note that in his report. He said that etiology of this finding is unclear. There are no lacerations of the overlaying skin nor fractures of the underlying skull. These findings are inconclusive for perimortem injury due to both the extensive decomposition and the absence of associated injuries. This finding, however, is significant enough to be highlighted in this preliminary report for further investigation. It is important to reiterate that the finding could not have been observed in the first autopsy because the posterior head and neck dissection were not performed.
And some reaction there at the end that did the first pathologist not do what he or she was supposed to do? So Joseph Scott Morgan, break this down for us a little bit. How significant is this, and what do you make of this finding?
Well, he's referring in the report to the occipital region of this young man's skull. So if everybody watching and listening right now, take your index finger and find the knot on the back of your head, right here, posterior. That's called the occiput. So when you see this diagram that's kind of highlighted in red, you know that the doc drew up in the second autopsy, that's going to be below or inferior to this area. So it runs literally across the base here. Now, the interesting thing for me, Vin, when I look at that image, if you take a look at it, you can actually see that it is highlighted in red, but he's kind of got this demonstrated in a rectangular form. Okay. Now, when you have decomposition, all right, it's what's called diffuse, right? So it kind of spreads. There's no uniformity to it. But what he's demonstrating on this sketch, it almost has a rectangular shape, and not, it's out there. I mean, anybody can see it. Now, I don't know if it's the way he drew it up or whatever the case is, but he talks about how it's not possible for him to delineate, because of the level of decomposition that's going on with this young man's body. And part of me, I think to a certain degree, is baffled by the level of decomposition. We know that he was found probably 2 days later from when last seen. And again, those are not exact numbers. I'm ballparking that. And so you have the ME for the state of Mississippi that would have done this examination. Now, to say that there was not a dissection done of the backside of the head, that's an empirical impossibility because when we open the head to open the skull, you have to do what's called reflecting, which means you kind of open this back, peel it back. Now, maybe there wasn't an extensive dissection. It would, and we don't know what the state ME's report says at this point either, because they very well might allude to this. I think the big takeaway from what the retained medical examiner, former chief medical examiner for DC, right? What he is saying is that it's hard for him to make heads or tails of this because of the level of decomposition. And he talks about layered dissection. And I got to tell you, Ben, I review a lot of autopsy reports, as you know, participated in a lot of autopsies over the years. I'm not going to go into the graphic detail, but suffice it to say that the autopsy that was performed, the second autopsy, is as extensive as I've ever seen. As a matter of fact, it is an autopsy that we would do in the event that we had an in-custody death, where, see, how can I frame this? It's not just as using a standard Y incision to open the body and take the organs out and open the head. He rolled this young man over on his stomach and dissected everything posteriorly, the legs, the buttocks, the back. And he didn't see any signs of hemorrhage in the surfaces that he looked for. But he does note this, and that's significant, particularly when coupled with the absence of the organs of the neck, right? Because
we're going to talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because a lot of people see the photo and they're saying, okay, somebody hit him in the back of the head. Could that cause that type of injury?
Yeah, I suppose it could. And, going back to what I'd mentioned earlier, with the way the doc is drawn out this diagram, it has, I don't know if he intended to do that, but it has a rectangular shape to it. Rectangular goes to pattern, right? He doesn't make note of any overlying abraded area, which, you think about scraping your knee. Many times if you have blunt force impact or a strike like that, you'll have little bits of abraded area over the surface of the skin. He doesn't make note of that in the second autopsy. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, because as the doctor admits, decomposition has really set in at this point in time, so it's very difficult to assess.
So another significant thing that we heard from Ben Crump at the press conference that he held going through the autopsy results involved what wasn't provided to the second pathologist. Let's take a listen to Ben Crump talking about that.
Another limitation faced by this forensic pathologist was the absence of the anterior internal neck structures. The trachea and the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn, and the hyoid bone were not received with the body. So he's saying that the throat was not received with the body when he got Nolan Wells' body in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. And so let's discuss that with what he said about that. He said, it is assumed that the initial pathologist retained these structures for additional evaluation. He said the retention of the anterior neck structures during an initial autopsy is a common forensic pathology practice. He was chief medical examiner for 7 years in Washington, D.C. And he said that if they had concern about throat or any fracture or compression of the throat, they too will hold them back. He doesn't know why they held the throat back, but he said the throat was not with the body of Nolan Wells when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation.
Okay, Joseph Scott Morgan. 0 to 10, how significant do you think it is, the fact that they did not provide that? And when I say significant to the initial pathologist to retain it, 0 to 10.
Yeah, no, okay, 0 to 10, I'll go 9.5. It's significant because they don't just arbitrarily retain the organs of the neck. And there's a reason that they do this. I've participated in many cases where we've done this over the years. It's not something abnormal. It's not something sinister. It's so that the neck, the structures within the neck can be fully appreciated. So what we're referring to here is going up all the way into the floor of the mouth. I'm assuming probably the tongue is absent as well. All the way down, inferior to where the Adam's apple is. Those structures have all been removed. I would also imagine, Vin, that what we refer to as the strap muscles, they're kind of these interlaced muscles that crisscross over the trachea in this area. That's where we see hemorrhage. Okay, if you have like a throttling event or at the muscular level, I'm not talking about like the exterior, the tissue, the soft tissue of the skin, I'm talking about internally, because he doesn't make any mention of the strap muscles as well. So that was probably retained. And of course, you know, he's talking about also the hyoid. Now, we've been down the road with hyoid for many years now, right? We've talked about it extensively in certain infamous cases out there. And that's something that, you know, you would look for because, you know, the hyoid, contrary to popular belief, or what has been, you know, talked about in other cases, it rarely, if ever, gets fractured as a result of a hanging or something like that. You have to, because it's so high up on the neck, that you'll fracture those little horns, okay? And you have to get really deep in there. Now, whether they saw that or not, I don't know, because they've retained those organs in the neck. So the reason you retain them is for further study or consultation with colleagues, or they have evidentiary value, right? And that evidence can either mean that it demonstrates something or it demonstrates the absence of something. Okay, so that's going to be very important in this case.
Now, would there be any reason to retain the throat? Any testing that would be done to determine drowning as a cause of death?
Good question.
Anything in there that would be tested after the fact?
Yeah. So
figure that out.
Here's the tail of the tape relative to drowning. I'm not so much concerned about the airway. The initial airway, what I'm concerned about is the lungs. He also said in this report he could not examine the stomach. What are you looking for in the stomach? Well, if you're ingesting water, You're going to look for water in the stomach. We also check the inner ear, which is something we do when we take the calvarium off, or what the skull cap, the calvarium, and we'll do an internal of the cranial vault, and we'll check for water in the inner ear. Those are certain things. Lungs are important here, and he said that he could not examine the lungs. He didn't say the lungs were not there. And the reason he could not examine the lungs is that the lungs have been dissected. So they've taken samples in Mississippi, and then they have sent the remnant. Remember, he actually makes note of the fact that the body arrived with the organs in a bag. What he makes specific reference to is that he is absent the organs of the neck, but he couldn't examine the stomach. That means the stomach has been opened and examined. They probably took gastric content out of there, I would imagine, because we're not just interested in water, we're interested in what's going on at a chemistry, from a chemistry standpoint, toxicologically. So going to be absent that. And the second pathologist is not going to be able to appreciate all this because the body has literally been through another autopsy. The first autopsy. So samples have been taken, retained, all those sorts of things. The second physician, though, did state that he took tissue samples and has submitted them for histology, which means that you're going to put that stuff on a slide, you're going to look at it and take a look and see what's going on microscopically in these sections. One question that I think that I would like to see answered, because if drowning is on the menu here relative for consideration, and it should be, I want to know if they did diatom testing, which are these little algae that exist in certain bodies of water. This is on Horn Island, that's in the Gulf, and we know that that's salt water, right? So there are certain diatoms that you would find in there. That means that as you take on this water, this stuff is going to be processed in your system. And you'll see that microscopically. It's quite fascinating to see. And you can actually identify the little creatures, these diatoms that are left behind, and they're very distinctive. So I'm hoping that the folks in Mississippi, are going to do that testing, because it's something that should be on the table. You should be considering.
Absolutely. Incredible insight. Joseph Scott Morgan, appreciate your valuable time. Thank you so much. That's it for us, folks. This time, I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
We're going to be trying to move and get ahead of things ahead of time, right? Just like with the music side of it, just like with AfroWire AI. So it's our AI powered news network, and it's very it's going to be a lot longer than the first pilot episode. I'll let you know that. Maybe some new people that didn't even know nothing.
Casual visit. Do not need an 8 deeper than it's life.
So go check it out on the African Diaspora News Channel app. You can check it out in two places, either AfroWire. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go ahead and get started, because I know your Fridays is precious and you got things to do. So let me go ahead and play this video of the district attorney. And I just have some questions, like maybe you have some questions and everything. But all of a sudden, everybody's explaining things now. Because originally I thought it was just an accident or he drowned. I mean, that's what law enforcement said, right? That's kind of open and shut case from what they normally do. But this one, they couldn't really sweep that underneath the rug and just say, oh, yeah, it's an accident, whatever, move on. They couldn't do that with this case. So let's go ahead and play the district attorney has to say, but I have questions. Let's go ahead and get to her. And here she goes.
As district attorney for the 19th Circuit Court District of Mississippi, I want to talk directly to the people of Jackson County. Our community is grieving the tremendous loss of Nolan Wells, who is loved and treasured by everyone. Nolan's family deserves answers, and our community deserves answers. Every death in the county, except those of natural causes and non-criminal car wrecks, are presented to your grand jury. Many people don't know that. We have handled death investigations in this manner my entire career. Nolan's case is being handled the same way, with the same care and the same commitment to the truth that we handle all death investigations. I understand the public's urgency to know what happened to Nolan, but we are not taking time for time's sake. We are taking the time required to complete the work this investigation demands. Since Nolan was reported missing, local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies have worked around the clock investigating what happened to him. Every piece of evidence must be examined. Every credible lead must be followed to its conclusion. Every witness interview must be analyzed in context of all other evidence. The pressure for answers does not change what the work requires. Our responsibility to Nolan and our community is to complete this investigation thoroughly, carefully, without compromise, supported by the evidence and worthy of the confidence of the people we serve. I also understand that many people have questions about why more information has not been released publicly. In Mississippi, the rules of professional conduct restrict the information a prosecutor can release during an investigation. Our restraint in communicating facts and evidence is not an effort to keep the truth from the public. It is an effort to protect the integrity of this investigation and the grand jury proceeding. As your district attorney, I have an ethical obligation to avoid public statements that could influence witnesses, prejudice a proceeding, or compromise the fairness of the legal process. My obligation extends to and requires me to use reasonable care to ensure investigating agencies avoid making those statements and releasing information as well. These rules exist to protect the search for the truth, not to prevent it. As divided as the discussion surrounding Nolan's death has become, I know we all want the same thing, to understand what happened to Nolan. With that being our shared goal, we must also share in the goal of protecting the integrity of how the truth is discovered. If we sacrifice the integrity of the process in effort to satisfy today's questions, we risk undermining the confidence in tomorrow's answers. When the public asks, what about this, or have they looked at that, or did they think about this? The answer is yes. Those are the same questions investigators ask. The difference is that we can't publicly discuss the evidence, the interviews, or what those efforts have uncovered while the investigation is underway. Again, our restraint in sharing details of the investigation is not a refusal to share the truth. It is our commitment to protect the process that allows the truth to be known with confidence. There's a lot of information out there, and there is a heck of a lot of misinformation out there. I simply want the community I serve to know that this investigation is being handled with the care, professionalism, and commitment to the truth that every family in Jackson County deserves. As we continue this important work, Nolan's family, his friends, and all who loved him remain in our prayers.
Okay. All right. Before I get started, let me bring it down a little bit. Lady, first of all, that was the driest thing I ever heard in my life. And it was just so soulless and dry.
It was AI.
You couldn't even talk on your own. You were reading those words off of a teleprompter. And you're not even skilled enough to sound empathetic or sympathetic while you're reading a teleprompter. I've seen AI have more get up and go than you have. And that's AI. Like, ma'am, I don't think nobody believes you. And I'm gonna tell you why nobody believes you. That could be what y'all do on paper, but here's the thing. Y'all had way too many questionable deaths in Mississippi of black people. And it always immediately, quickly, your law enforcement say, oh, they did it to themselves. Oh, they drowned. Oh, they this. We've never heard y'all say no thorough investigation. Oh, we need to bring it to a grand jury. Your cops, your local cops, to say, oh, that's what it is, and that's the end of it. This is the first time we've even seen you, ma'am. Out of all these deaths of black people, this is the first time we've even seen you address anybody. Where you been the whole time? Or your office or whoever, where you been? Why you didn't say this in the beginning? Your cops was already doing their normal thing, but they couldn't cover this one up. So no, that video didn't make it better. The video has a lot of questions for me because it's like, why are you making a video now?
Listen, guys, did you guys know that Nolan Wells is related to Ida B. Wells? Put in one in the chat. Put a one in the chat if you know who that is. We're not going to go over that tonight because it's time for us to go. It's time for us to go. So I can't even finish playing this video for tonight. But I found out today that Nolan Wells is a descendant of Ida B. Wells. And I'm going to put this up because we're going to go over this in depth tomorrow. He is a descendant of the Ida B. Wells. I think that is significant when it comes to this case, don't you? Let's just go down a rabbit hole.
On a personal note, as the child and the grandchild and the nephew and the cousin and the husband of people who all went to HBCUs, I can't begin to express how important these schools have been to the Black community. Places that, for years, were the only institutions that Black people could count on for higher education. Given her father's work, Wells grew up around Black folks who were trying to build a better, more just society for her people. But after losing both of her parents and one of her siblings to yellow fever, she became the primary caregiver to her 5 brothers and sisters. Wells found herself taking care of her siblings while also working as a teacher and attending school at Rusk College. During this time, she discovered her passion for writing. In 1882, Wells moved to Memphis, Tennessee, where her career as a journalist would begin. She became co-owner of a local newspaper where she wrote passionate editorials and conducted in-depth investigative work to shine a light on the widespread acts of lynchings in the South. Lynching, or killing by way of mob without a trial, became a common form of retribution in the South as a means of administering vigilante justice absent of due process. These acts of violence took many forms, perhaps most infamously, hanging a person from a tree. These acts were designed to inspire fear and were used as an intimidation tactic against African Americans to assert social, political, and economic control. And unfortunately, Black Americans in the South had to live with the looming threat that such violence could happen to them or their family at any moment. It's important to remember also that this history wasn't that long ago. In my own book, How the Word is Passed, I describe how my own grandfather, born in 1930 Mississippi, told me a story of how, when he was a boy, a Black man in a small town of just 1,000 people was kidnapped by night riders, hung from a tree, and castrated. And this sort of thing was happening all across the South. Lynchings could, and often did, take place without the victim having been charged with any sort of crime. And even if someone had been charged with a crime, a vigilante mob kidnapping someone in the middle of the night and killing them is not justice, no matter what the accusation is. As you can imagine, people were scared. To speak out against lynching would put a target on your back. And what's remarkable about Ida B. Wells is that she knew this and did it anyway. And while Wells was brave, she was also strategic. Wells's editorials and investigative reporting angered many local whites. And while she wanted to make waves, she understood that to be effective, she needed to stay alive. So she published many articles in Black newspapers and periodicals under the moniker Iola. Lynching was not the only cause Ida B. Wells took a stand against. She also sued the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad Company for discrimination. As the story goes, she purchased a first-class train ticket for a ride from Memphis to Woodstock, Tennessee. But the train crew ordered her to move to the car reserved for African Americans. But Wells did not leave the first-class car voluntarily. The conductor and some passengers forcibly removed her and then kicked her off the train. She won a $500 settlement in a circuit court case, but that decision was later overturned by the Tennessee Supreme Court in 1887. Following this train situation, Wells became even more impassioned to combat discrimination against Black Americans in all areas. For example, while working as a journalist, Wells became a teacher at a segregated public school in Memphis, Tennessee. That firsthand experience led her to begin writing about educational inequality, and this time under her own name. As a result, in 1891, after publicly criticizing the lack of resources for Black-only schools in the area, she was fired. The following year, her efforts as a journalist refocused on the lynching problem in the South after she lost 3 of her friends. Calvin McDowell, Thomas Moss, and Will Stewart owned a store called the People's Grocery in Memphis. The presence of this moderately successful Black-owned business sparked anger and unrest among the local white community. On March 3, 1892, a group of white men, including a sheriff's deputy, went to the People's Grocery to confront McDowell, Moss, and Stewart. This led to an altercation, and by the time it was over, some of the white men had been injured. As a result, McDowell, Moss, and Stewart were arrested, and some Memphis newspapers referred to the men's efforts to defend themselves and their store as an armed rebellion by the Black men in Memphis. Just a few days later, at 2:30 in the morning, a mob of 75 masked men broke into the jail and kidnapped McDowell, Moss, and Stewart. They were brought to the edge of the town, and they were lynched. In the aftermath of the tragedy, Wells launched an extensive investigation on lynching and used her publications to openly denounce the practice. She traversed the southern states for 2 months to gather information on other acts of lynching. And in October of 1892, she published a pamphlet entitled Southern Horrors, which detailed all of her findings. Wells stayed in the North and never returned to Memphis, but that did not keep her from writing about the horrors of lynching in the South. Wells also took her research and anti-lynching campaign across the Atlantic, specifically to Great Britain in the 1890s. She helped establish the British Anti-Lynching Society in 1894, and her work on the transatlantic anti-lynching circuit demonstrates the ways African-American women activists internationalized social justice work. This built on the work of earlier abolitionists, like Frederick Douglass and William Wells Brown, who also traveled to England to promote the abolitionist cause. In 1895, Wells published The Red Record, which outlined the horrors of lynching to a Northern audience whom Wells did not think was fully aware of everything that was going on in the South, writing that thousands of Black people had been killed in cold blood without the formality of judicial trial and legal execution. She also used the pamphlet to challenge the rape myth that whites used to justify the lynching of African American men. See, a significant component of the culture of lynching was the idea of protecting white womanhood from Black men who were stereotyped as being over-sexualized and always waiting for their chance to sexually attack a white woman. Countless Black men were lynched after being wrongfully accused of raping, assaulting, eyeing, or even speaking to a white woman. Wells's research, however, revealed that many victims of lynchings had not committed any crimes at all, but had rather challenged white supremacy. Challenging white supremacy could include anything from being a Black person simply leading a successful life as a business owner to refusing to cross the street when passing a white person. According to the Equal Justice Initiative, more than 4,000 Black Americans were lynched in the South alone between 1877 and 1950. And this is only the numbers that we know. There's every reason to believe that the numbers could be even higher than that. Wells had completed much of her life's work before marrying in 1895 to an attorney and newspaper editor, Ferdinand L. Barnett. The couple would have 4 children. Still, even after starting a family, Wells believed that her work was not done. In 1896, Wells was among the founding members of the National Association of Colored Women. The founding convention was held in Washington, D.C., and other founding members included Harriet Tubman, Francis E.W. Harper, and Mary Church Terrell. And I don't know about y'all, but that's basically like the Avengers. And she kept going. In 1898, Wells took her anti-lynching campaign to the White House. She led a protest in Washington, D.C., calling for President William McKinley to make reforms. And she called for President Woodrow Wilson to end discriminatory hiring practices in government jobs. And throughout the remainder of her life, she was incredibly active in the fight for women's suffrage. A determined woman in every respect, Ida B. Wells is one of America's greatest heroes. She had the determination and the bravery required to stand up against one of the darkest elements of America's past, and in many ways, helped lay the groundwork for both the civil rights movement of the mid-20th century and the Black Lives Matter movement of today. Her life's work was dedicated to stopping the unjust murderings of Black Americans in the South, a practice that, due to the widespread, profoundly entrenched influence of the Klan, was often protected by law enforcement and legal policies. Wells died of kidney disease on March 25th, 1931, at the age of 68 in Chicago, Illinois. Her legacy is a remarkable one. She did so much for so many and used her gifts and determination to help build a better world. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Crash Course is made possible with the help of all these nice people, and our animation team is Thought Cafe. Crash Course is a Complexity production, and if you'd like to keep Crash Course free for everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and stopping by to Kicking It with Auntie Leah. I really do appreciate you. We are ending it for tonight. We will not be live tomorrow. But if you can come back Sunday, I will be researching. I will be trying to figure everything out and getting some more details for us in the Nolan Wells case, Carmelo Anthony, Daniel Irving, every case out there. We are dedicated to it. I want you guys to know that we love you. I thank you. And I appreciate you. Until we link up tomorrow. Peace and love. Let me find the gang anthem. You guys gotta listen to it. Truth to the words.
No lies.
Get out of here, baby.
We stand on facts.
If it don't add up, we don't ride.
Everybody drop Truth Gang in the comments.
Standing 10 toes on the truth. On truth. No cap, no spin, no disguise.
Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel.
Every time. Crush Truth Gang, never fall in line. Never move out rumors, I verify first. If the story's shaky, I dissect every word. Cross-check facts, I don't play with assumptions. If it don't make sense, I'm pressing the button. Independent mind, I don't follow the crowd. If the truth get buried, I'm digging it out. They be talking loud, but they stand on nothing. I'm building a case while they building discussions. No bias in my lens, I don't lean left or right. If it's wrong, I'ma call it on sight. Every claim get tested, every angle reviewed. We don't chase opinions, we align with the proof.
Salute to everybody. We love y'all. See y'all later.
Standing 10 toes on the truth.
Meet us Sunday night, okay?
Nope. We see through every lie. Pressure on them every time.
Hey,
Truth Gang never fall in line. No shortcuts taken, we follow the trail. Even if it led somewhere people won't tell. I don't care who involved, I don't care who it hit. Truth don't pick sides, it expose what it is. Every detail matters. I'm zooming it in from the start to the end, where the gaps where it been. If the timeline off, then the story collapse. And I'm bringing it up, I ain't letting it pass. We don't fold under pressure, we apply it instead. They be hoping we stop, we apply it again. 10 toes planted, we ain't moving for nothing. Truth Gang remain solid, yeah, we stand on something. It don't matter where we go. It don't matter what it shows. We know.
I love y'all.
Truth ain't easy.
See y'all tomorrow. Not tomorrow, Sunday. And salute to everybody that was here. I love you.
Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for coming. Please like, share, and subscribe. Come back again.